Hi, I'm Ralph W. So I thought today we'd talk a little about motion detectors. Last week we talked about photoelectric detectors. We'll talk about ultrasonic motion detectors because that was the latest and the greatest technologies in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And what happened is because they didn't have discrete components, solid-state components, everything was virtually tube-operated. So this is out of the 1950s. This happens to be a Kidda. And then as technology improved, this is called Bagno Electronic. Invented a gentleman by the name of Sam Bagno out of New Jersey. And you'll notice closely, you can see transistors. So there was a transmitter and a receiver. This is an example of a transmitter and a receiver. And it would transmit a certain signal and receive a certain signal. And this frequency was just above human hearing. As a matter of fact, young kids, infants, could hear the actual frequency that came out of this. It's just a phenomenon that as we age, our hearing, typically in the high and low end, gets cut back. So young people could hear these at one time. So much so that if these were in schools, they'd actually have to shut the devices down because it would drive kids crazy. So moving along, this is an example of that Bagno space sensor. And you can see what happened is this used that transmitter receiver, and then it then transformed into a new technology called a transceiver. And a transceiver actually had a transmitter and a receiver all built in one. So this is an example of a transceiver. It had the transducer, the transmitter, and had the receiver built in. And this was the actual equipment that powered these. So you could typically power up to 20 of these motion sensors into one panel. And they had individual sensitivities, so you could adjust it by room. And then you had a master sensitivity that you could adjust it system-wide. And you'll notice the technology got a little better, it got a little smaller, more signal processing, and the sensors got smaller and smaller and smaller. And so this really shows you, just as we talked about sensors of photoelectric sensors of years ago, how they got smaller and smaller, so did ultrasonics. So next week we'll talk a little about some of the later technologies, and appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. Have a good day.